Before we go further, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the executive session.
I make a motion that we close the executive session.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes.
And for the record, we'll say that no action was taken.
No action was taken in executive session. Well, good evening. Welcome to the City of Renaissance. Glad to have you here. As always, we look forward to your comments that you make in public comment. At this time, Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mayor William Bill Edwards.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Captain Rowell.
Here.
Councilmember Carmelita Gumbs.
Here.
Councilmember Ellen Z. Willis.
Here.
Councilmember Naima Gilliard.
Here.
Councilmember Rosie Jackson. Councilmember Khalid. And Councilmember Mark Baker.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
At this time, we have invocation by our chaplain, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Let us stand. Let us pray. God, once again, you keep on showing us that it's really not about us, but it's really all about you. And all that we do, you show that you're in the foundation of this city. It goes back to just a bill called Lazarus, which means to live again. And now you've done it in the name, Renaissance, meaning rebirth, meaning to be revived. So God, what is it about this Renaissance that you're trying to tell us? That there is a rebirth of our culture, our ideas, our spirit, our goals. For the prefix "re" means to bring back to the original position, to the original purpose. So, oh God, we pray that you will lead our leaders to rebirth, to bring anew the culture of this city, so that we will always remember that it's not about us, but it's about you. And as long as you're there, then you will revive us again, that we may rejoice in thee. In Jesus' name we pray. Let us all say amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, on today's consent agenda, these three items are to be voted on with one motion. Are the meeting minutes from Tuesday, October 24th, the meeting minutes from Friday, October 27th, and a proclamation spread upon the minutes by Mayor Edwards to Pearls of Vision Foundation.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think that's unanimous. Ms. Clerk?
The next item is a request to approve the regular meeting agenda. I would like to add that in consultation both with legal counsel and Mayor Pro Tem Rowell, as well as Councilwoman Willis, I need to add them as the sponsors for the ethics ordinance that's on page 3 of 4 under ordinances, Roman numeral 4, adoption of additional ethics ordinances. This particular document is co-sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Rowell and Councilmember Willis.
As I can remember, the original document I got had that on it. Was there any reason why we deleted it?
Yes, because we actually didn't get the word that they were technically sponsoring the document until today.
I'll entertain a motion.
What is this?
make a motion that, well, actually, I need to make amendment to item G of number 6 to reflect that there are 9 as the last recognition or proclamation on it.
You have that, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. Yes. We'll correct that for the minutes.
Okay. And then I make a motion that we accept the regular meeting agenda as presented with amendments.
I'm sorry, I got 2 people and I hear you on the microphone. Say it one more time.
I make a motion that we accept the regular meeting agenda with the proposed amendment.
Okay. Yeah. I just would like to add that, and I think that's what Councilwoman Jackson is pertaining to her amendments that she's proposed for ethics. I think the process is that each member will make amendments, but I'm going to defer to David because I think you've had those discussions.
So for this particular proceeding, it would just be a motion to amend the title as presented on resolution, or excuse me, ordinance, amendment to ordinance 2017-031 to reflect that it is sponsored by the Mayor Pro Tem and Councilwoman Willis.
Right.
So now this is Jackson who's asking about their proposals.
So that amendment would be taken up
At the time we called it up.
with the consideration of the ordinance.
Right, okay. Okay. There's a motion, do I get a second? I'll get a second, we can go home.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. In discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. That passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. The next item is on page 2 under proclamations and recognitions. Councilmember Willis, are you holding yours, or is that for presentation today?
I'm holding.
Okay.
Which one are you holding?
Letter A.
Right.
Okay, so we'll go to Councilmember Baker's proclamation. Is a proclamation recognizing 25 and older sports.
It's all good.
I'd like to ask Mr. Arnold Jiggets and all the members of 25 and over sports to come up here.
I want to make sure.
Everybody here who's not familiar with 25 and over sports that operated, I think, most recently out of Duncan Park and been in the city of South Fulton for a couple of years and over 20-something seasons, promoting health, networking, and well-being in our community is just one of the spotlights I just wanted to shine in reading. Whereas Arnold Jiggets and 25 and older sports have commandeered a simple schoolyard game and cultivated it into a popular South Fulton adult pastime in their past 24 seasons of execution, being the first league of its kind to come to the unincorporated South Fulton area. And whereas combining the relaxed and competitive sport of kickball with social networking to create a fun and active way for adults to network, meet new people, and enjoy friends in a diverse social atmosphere. And whereas the primary sport is adult women's kickball and co-ed kickball, having an average participation age of 30+ years old, operating out of 2 parks in 3 different leagues, 25 and older sports has serviced over 800 adult women. And whereas 25 and older sports has promoted adult health, fitness, and competition for all adults who take part, no matter what your skill level or athletic ability, experts and everyone in between have been welcome to join. And whereas 25 and older sports has donated thousands to various local charities, donated over 100 pairs of shoes for hurricane victims in Haiti, and over 1,000 canned goods to Hosea Feed the Homeless, and held numerous back-to-school drives. And whereas Mr. Arnold Jiggets and 25 and older sports also are the recipient of the 2017 Fulton County District 5 Recreational Partner of the Year Award. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of South Fulton congratulate Mr. Arnold Jiggets and 25 and older sports on their contributions to the City of South Fulton, and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 14th, 2017 as Arnold Jiggets and 25 and older sports Appreciation Day in the City of South Fulton, Georgia.
Brief word. I asked my people to come out here, 25 and older sports, raise your hand, please. Because they gave this proclamation to me and you heard my name, but it's been people like these who have supported us from our inception and made us who we are and received some of these accolades. Thank you all. I appreciate your support. When we first started, the goal was to primarily provide quality adult recreational sports in our community. What I'm learning through our process and our growth is that we're actually building communities. We're actually doing a cool thing. These women and people who participate in our organizations, as they meet each other outside the field, they realize they're neighbors. They become friends and they make lifelong relationships. So with your continued support, 25 and older, and Mayor and Council, thank you all for this honor. We can be great. We just need the support in the back, and then as long as you also put us, we'll continue to do great things in our community.
Website, where they reach you, how they join?
25andoldersports.com. Thank you. Thank you. No, she live. You want to hold that? You can hold it. Thank you. Okay.
The next proclamation is sponsored by Councilmember Gumbs, a proclamation recognizing National Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Hello, not city. Good evening, the City of Renaissance. How are you all doing today?
Yes.
Wonderful. Last month was Domestic Violence and Sex Trafficking Month, Awareness Month. And we did a series of things, especially in District 2, to recognize it and to bring awareness to it. And I want to bring up someone very special, Ashley Nicole. This young lady reached out to me probably maybe 6 weeks after being in office. I am an avid lover of the arts, and I do believe that through art, you sometimes have therapeutic, feel goods. So I reached out to her, and come to find out, she's actually my neighbor. See how important it is when you talk to your neighbors? So she is an artist, and she does very well. She has her own agency. And we talked about domestic violence, and we talked about sex trafficking, which is very important, especially in our youth. And I wanted to make sure that we had an event. And we had canvas and convos where actually we had local artists in South Fulton that came out to Nook and Honey in our own community. And we actually had them painting, and they were selling their art, but being able to display their skills. And we raised money for a special organization, so we were super excited about that. But I want to give her this proclamation for actually coming through and doing these type of things in our community. And again, I would love for you all to continue to recognize her. She lives right here in the new city of Renaissance. So please support our local artists as well. So here's the proclamation. Domestic Violence Awareness Month evolved from the Day of Unity held in October of 1981 and conceived by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. The intent was to connect advocates across the nation who were working to end violence against women and children. Whereas in October 1987, the first Domestic Violence Awareness Month was observed, violence against women and children is any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women. And whereas in 1989, the U.S. Congress passed Public Law 101-112, designating October of that year as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and such legislation has passed every year since. And whereas advocates in the domestic violence field are in prime position to assist victims of sex trafficking in large part due to trafficking, close relationships with domestic violence, and the parallels in both the harm suffered by its victims and the tactics used by the perpetrators. And whereas victims of domestic violence and trafficking for commercial sexual exploitation experience physical and sexual violence as well as psychological harm and trauma. Important to note, there is an overlap in the population of domestic violence and sex trafficking, namely when the batterer and the trafficker are one and the same. Sadly, traffickers thrive on the ability to reap lucrative profits and incur minimal risk and impunity. Now, there be resolved that the Mayor and Council of the City of Renaissance recognize the month of October 2017 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month and shine a light on the ills of sex trafficking and domestic violence, and do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the new city of Renaissance, Georgia.
So I just want to thank Councilwoman Gumbs for the opportunity to work together. Sex trafficking is an issue that I've been involved with for about 7 or 8 years. I've worked directly with minor survivors and adult women who have been identified as victims or survivors of sex trafficking. I worked in mental health for about 8 years, but I'm also an artist and wanted to find a way to do both things together. So I do therapeutic art with a lot of survivors because they're able to use art as a way to process a lot of the things that they deal with. But Canvas and Combos was really good because it allows me to use art as a way to talk about a sensitive topic and take the heaviness off of it. So if you want to learn more about more Canvas Combos events that we'll be doing, you can visit my website, which is www.artzybella.com, and that's ARTZBELLA.com, and I'm also on Instagram at artzybella. Thank you so much, Dave.
Three. 1, 2, 3. Everybody?
The next series of proclamations are sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Rowell, and there, I just learned a new word, a quadrilogy, for Randolph Girl Scout Appreciation Day. Here in the
honor the Randolph Girl Scouts. If you join me at this time, please come up. The leader, please join me. Please join me. It's so important that we celebrate the success of our young people, especially when they're inspired to give back. And so this evening, I had an opportunity to represent 3 levels of Girl Scouts. And I want to first start with recognition of those Girl Scouts who've reached or achieved the gold level in Girl Scouts, which is the highest level in Girl Scouts. Only 6% of Girl Scouts achieve that recognition. And I'm so honored to recognize 2 of them who recently got that designation from Randolph's Girl Scout troop. The proclamation reads, Anala Reid is recipient of the Girl Scouts Gold Award. The Girl Scouts are a part of the Sisterhood of the World Association of Girl Guides and is a movement comprised of more than 10 million girls worldwide who are positively affecting their communities. And whereas the Gold Award is the highest award in Girl Scouts and is awarded to fewer than 6% of Girl Scouts, and Ms. Reid is in her 10th year as a Randolph Girl Scout and one of only 2 girls in the troop's history to achieve the Gold Award. And whereas Anala took her interest in a possible career as a special needs educator and created a program to teach mindfulness and yoga to students with learning disabilities. And whereas she helped members of both the basketball and track teams at Cumberland Academy of Georgia to manage their frustrations and challenges by getting them to focus and relax. And whereas Anala created a website as a blueprint for others to replicate her techniques, and she has been dubbed by one of the program participants as the team's good luck charm. And whereas Anala is a role model and her effort to support autistic children has earned her the Girl Scout Gold Award. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of South Fulton congratulates Anala Reid on a job well done on earning the Girl Scouts' highest honor, the Gold Award, and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 14th as Randolph Girl Scout Appreciation Day in the city of South Fulton. The second recipient of this award could not be with us, but she is in Vanderbilt, matriculating in her freshman year at Vanderbilt. But I wanted to highlight what she was able to do to achieve her Gold Award. Ms. Alicia Tillman made history, and she was the actual first Girl Scout from Randolph to achieve this recognition. She recognized that students' individual learning styles do not always match their instructors' teaching styles. A difference in the styles encouraged her to find a way to provide students with additional academic support. And in 2016, she founded the Peers Stop Tears peer tutoring program at Westlake High School, offering weekly and after-school tutoring for individual and small groups. And student feedback about the program has been overwhelmingly positive and established a strong partnership with the National Honor Society to ensure her legacy continues. Now this program is being led by current Westlake students, and Alicia Tillman is in fact a role model and currently a freshman at Vanderbilt University. Her efforts support other students in need of tutorial support and earned her the Girl Scout Awards. So we want to make sure that one of the leaders take this on her behalf and make sure she gets it. So this goes to my Silver Award winners. The Silver Award is the highest achievement in Girl Scouts for girls in 6th through 8th grades, and 3 Randolph Girl Scouts achieved the honor. And whereas each year these awards are presented to girls who have planned and executed what is known as the Take Action projects in response to pressing community needs. Whereas in the process, girls gain skills in leadership, project planning, time management, budgeting, confidence building that lasts a lifetime. And Alicia Parker created a children's library for the Odyssey Counseling Center of College Park, Georgia, and filled it with books that children can take home as well as books that remain in-house. And Layla Warner partnered with Bethel Cobb AME Church to prepare and host a community dinner to feed those in need. And whereas Ashley Green collected gently warm winter coats to distribute to people in need within the community. Whereas each Girl Scout commits to respecting herself and others, respecting authority, using resources wisely, and making the world a better place. And these incredible 3 young ladies have left their community in a better place because of their service. Now therefore be it resolved that we recognize these 3 young ladies for achieving the Silver Award. and for our Bronze Award winners. This is a leadership adventure, and it is the highest honor Girl Scouts can earn in 4th and 5th grade. 9 Randolph Girl Scouts have achieved this honor, and each year these awards again are recognized for their Take Action projects. And we would like to recognize those 7 girls: Ivory Gallup, Zoe Harrison, Paige Rowell, Alexis Smith, Asia Stanton, Kaylin Tony, and Myra Murray, who assembled and distributed 100 blessings in a bag to the homeless community on Pine Street in Atlanta. Where Sierra Bailey represented the Atlanta troop in Houston, Texas, and completed a community garden and distributed 50 blessings in a bag filled with food and toiletries for the homeless community. And Macy Hodel installed a compost bin in the Providence Missionary Baptist Church community garden in Atlanta, Georgia. So as you can see, these young people are doing amazing things. It is so important that we recognize their great deeds. And I couldn't be prouder to represent you.
Okay, I'm the shy one, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm thrilled to be here with these girls. They really have worked hard. And we hear a lot about the Boy Scout, Eagle Scout Award. Well, the Gold Award is the equivalent, but we like to say it even takes more to achieve it. These girls are dedicated to community service, and that's what these awards are all about. They're doing amazing things in the community, and I thank the City of Renaissance for honoring them with this. And I thank these leaders for being so dedicated to these girls. Thank you.
Squeeze in. I know it's a lot.
Congratulations.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, you're now at the public comment section of today's agenda. Speakers will be granted up to 2 minutes each, and public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. We have received 8 speaker cards, so if the first 4 speakers would please approach the podium at this time. Mr. Mike Taylor, Mr. John A. Jones, Ms. Glenda Collins, and Ms. Kimnetta Collette.
Take one. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me this space to approach you. My name is Mike Taylor. I am a member of the City Grove Community Association and a proud citizen of the City of Renaissance. I concur with Pastor Henry, and I declare that Renaissance means a rebirth, a reawakening in terms of health, financial prosperity, education, technology advances, green initiative, spiritual growth, and new opportunities to all citizens and residents, which will outshine anything available in any other city in the Fulton County area. The spirit of wisdom, compassion, and cooperation will reign within leadership so that so that leverage one another's strength and compensate for one another's weakness for the good of the city. Love and respect reign. The mouths of our enemies will be shut. We bind corruption and impropriety. Justice is upheld. All people will be safe. Streets will be clean and well maintained. Our children shall be taught honor and respect for the elders, and great will be the peace of our children. Yes. Now hear me here. Every blessing stored up for the city of Renaissance and its residents is released in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Mayor Edwards and the council, all the council people. My name is John Jones. And I reside at 750 New Magnolia Court in the 5th District. And I'm glad to be here today. Give me a few minutes just to say what I have to say. One of my biggest concerns is, and I've already teamed up with our council person to work with her on economic development. We're very concerned about what's taking place on Buffington Road and Old Bill Cook Road and that area of the 5th District. I was kind of disappointed about 3 weeks ago when we had a meeting with the council person and some other folks who were to represent us to tell us about economic development. But one of the main things that we did not get out of that meeting was we requested a map, the most recent map showing the actual zones and exactly where Union City starts, stops, because it's affecting what we do on Buffington Road. I've driven around a couple of times in the last 2 weeks, found areas that we thought might be something good for what we wanted to do, and it turned out it was in Union City. So this is why we need those maps, and not just something you tell us that's on the internet. We need something printed so people can see it, and so we can pass them out and let people actually understand where they are and what part of the city they actually live in. The next thing is the influx of all the violent crime that's happened in the last week or two. I'm not sure what Fulton County's plan is. I'm a military person, and I believe in doing things right and trying to do it in order. But I think, I'm praying that the state representative, our state senators and our state representative, if they're here, that will work with the council people, this city, to form some kind of alliance where we can, if we have to call on the National Guard, let's do it. I'm one of those, I said, we want to take care of the problem. And that's the only way. I'm one of those that say, let's do it. That's my time is up. But thank you so much, and have a good day. Thank you, John.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Glenda Collins, 5th District, Fairwood Community Association. Our city has been categorized as industrial. The residents and city leaders should revisit this industrial, and it should be amended. If we do not, the chemical fumes and the negative industrial waste will affect our health and our children's health. In addition, if these issues are not addressed, we may not be able to improve our lives and our economy. And we want to be known as a great city, and we certainly do not want to be known as the industrial city of South Fulton. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Follett, Mr. John Ross, Mr. George Lenore, Mr. Sean Metcalf, and Mr. Avon Spence. Ms. Follett.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your service. My prayers are with you and your family. But I want to bring up the dumping issue. I am in District 2, Wolf Club Drive, Wolf Creek subdivision.
Would you give the name?
Kimnetta Paulette. I recently walked along our new trail, the Wolf Club Trail. There was tire dumping. The utility path where you can open the gate to go down, obviously somebody went down that path and dumped tires. So just want to bring your attention to that. And I'm hoping we can get some type of surveillance cameras in areas where it's prone to be high dumping to get these people caught, because it's just gotten out of control. But I did inform the Fulton County Library people up front.
Good evening. My name is Sean Maxwell. Bishop Johnson. I'd like to say thank you for inviting us. Councilors Gumbs and come, thank you. We have some handouts that we'd like to give you all to review as well. But we're located here on Stacks Road. We're a parking management company, and we would like to speak with you at some point to discuss how you actually generate your revenue, and more importantly, collect that revenue once it's out there as a receivable. We manage different municipalities throughout the East Coast. We're definitely a small business, but like I said, we're located here on Stacks Road. We've been here for about a year, and we'd like to take the opportunity to speak with you at some point on how you actually grab those dollars that are sitting out there and place those into your general fund. And that's the key piece, is that a lot of jurisdictions, they take the time to write parking tickets or give out traffic violations, but they don't actually collect the revenue that is generated. And we have a few different methods that we use to collect that, and it goes much further than placing something on your credit report. That's really not a threat. So we found other methods that bring down the delinquency figures, and we believe that we have a model that would work for the city of Renaissance. So if I could leave these.
Take it.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Reid and Mayor, City Council. I'm John Ross from College Park. You're with your sister city. We really do miss you all. We do wish you all a lot of success here. I'm here to just bring another report on our efforts to increase access to capital, on our efforts to organize the local credit union to make a difference in the lives of many people that are in this new city of Renaissance. We just want you to know we're still moving forward. We're very grateful, very thankful to the leadership of Mark Baker and the leadership of Councilman Khalid Kamil, who really helped us to continue to move forward and given us a lot of inspiration, hope in making this a reality. We would like to be able to meet with you, Mayor, because the state of Georgia is up under a serious financial crisis. It's losing more of the banks than ever lost in the history of this country, credit unions, as well as check cashing places. And we're very concerned that our families who depend on these check cashing places and these unbankable families who are unbankable, don't do business with banks, are going to have some serious issues. So we'd like to be able to quietly but seriously sound the alarm and ask for continued support. And we'd like to meet with you, Mayor Edwards, to continue to move forward with this particular issue before it gets a major issue in the city of South Fulton. So we appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and move the proposed Nova Credit Union forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Avon Spence, and I represent Fulton Sanitation Trash Service. And I know I need more time than was allotted, but I'm not going to worry about it, because as this process proceeds, I'll make it my business to come back and update you on my concerns. One of the first concerns that I had is the recent RFP that was put out concerning the trash, right? First thing first, right? It's in the RFP that they want every single household in Fulton Sanitation to have a new container. For 35,000 homes to have a new container, that's a little more than $2.3 million. So when the costs come down to save the people money, whatever company get it, they're gonna pass it on. The containers, I've been in business 9 years. I have never delivered one container that was not sanitized. And if a wheel broke, I made sure it got fixed. For whatever reason, you want everybody to have a new container. I have delivered containers to some households from the beginning of starting the business, and some of them look just like they did when I delivered them. And I've delivered containers to some, new containers to some people, and come back 3 weeks later, and they look like they had them for years. So the fact of requiring everybody to get a new container, it's a waste of money. And it's overdue, and it passed on to the consumer. Now, here's another thing. They passed out, you have a point system for the people that want to submit a proposal. I understand my business is small and I got to come in under somebody, and that's fine. And I also understand the demographics of the community, all right? I am the only minority hauler still in existence that I know of, okay? Now, you give a certain amount of points for A, B, C, and D, right? For minority haulers, you give 0.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe unless Mr. George Lenore is here, there are no further speakers.
Okay. Mr. Silent first item.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the first item on page 2 under new business, resolutions, is a resolution approving a schedule of fines for the municipal court of the city of South Fulton as under resolution 2017-069.
Judge?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I start, I want to just provide you with a brief update. The clerk's office for the municipal court is fully staffed. I want to introduce you to the court administrator, Ms. Lakeisha Cofield. Stand up, Ms. Cofield. Ms. Cofield will be, I guess, representing the municipal court going further at city council meetings. Ms. Cofield comes to us from the city of Fayetteville, where she served as their municipal court administrator. And so we're glad to have her. Thank you so much. Now we will can get to the fines and fees. So just to give you kind of a general overview, the fines and fees posted or the fines and fees schedule was developed for people who want to simply pay fines as opposed to come to court. There are some offenses that under Georgia law are court-only offenses, and so they'll have to come to court. This doesn't limit my discretion to go higher or lower of the posted amount should someone come to court and want to plead not guilty or have some sort of bench trial, or even plead guilty and want to go on probation. Those things are still remain within my jurisdiction. But this posted fine fee schedule will be for those individuals who simply just want to pay online or mail a check in and not come to court. And so if there are any specific questions, I'm happy to address that.
Jackson?
And this might be out of order. Under community service, we have a lot of dumping in our area, and this might not, I might not have any jurisdiction of that. Is there any way that some of that can be used, like when they have to do community service, to pick up the trash within our area? Is that something that we could?
Well, actually, today we met with one of the probation companies that we're looking into detaining, and I made that a point of emphasis that any community services that were ordered would be provided in our community. Exactly what that is, I can't tell you right now. That obviously will depend on a lot of factors, including the health of the probationer or the health of the.
And I guess because oftentimes I know people have come, like if you have a 501c3 company, they'll say, can I do so many hours with you? But I guess what I'm asking is there a way, just like, a lot of cities, they use, for community service individuals and,
Well, let me just say this. Prior to coming here, Chaplain right over there, he did that.
Okay.
While we're at Fulton County. And I don't see any reason why we can't continue to do it in the city of Renaissance.
I think that'll kind of help us out just a little bit.
No, I mean, I fully agree. Like I said, I was in the meeting this morning with probation to discuss that, and I did make that a point of emphasis that any community service that I order, I'd like to be done here. Exactly what that is, I can't tell you, you know, I'm gonna say this person pick up tires and that person pick up, you know, that part I can't say.
I'm allotted latitude, but we give it a little bit away.
I apologize.
All right.
I'm sorry.
And I think I saw your hand next, Ms. Willis.
The littering, the maximum fine is $300 in our city, is that correct?
That's not, okay, so this schedule is not the maximum fine, but the vast majority of citations, my jurisdiction is 12 months incarceration and or $1,000 fine. That's the maximum of my jurisdiction, with the exception of certain offenses such as DUI, repeat offenders, things of that nature, my jurisdiction can go over. What this is if somebody is littering, somebody threw a, and this is only, understand this is only rules of the road because we haven't adopted any other rules. Am I correct, counsel?
That's correct.
Okay, so this is only for rules of the road. So this is somebody who throws paper out the car or whatever they do. If they don't want to come to court on I threw paper out of my car, then they can pay $300, or they can come into court and explain why they did that.
Okay. Do we have?
Just would you explain when you say up to your jurisdiction for the benefit of those who are
Absolutely. And so the municipal court, of jurisdictions or of cities, the judges in those jurisdictions are allotted a certain amount of jurisdiction. And so my jurisdiction, the most that I can possibly levy on any given fine, with some exceptions, is $1,000 fine and or 12 months of incarceration. And that's completely my discretion. What this proposed fine and fee schedule will do is simply allow people who don't want to be involved in my discretion to pay and kind of move on.
Okay. So these fines are germane to the rules of the road infractions?
Correct, because there's been no criminal, we haven't adopted any sort of criminal code or any of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any further questions on this? Mr. Clerk, is this an action item? Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we accept, refers to the proposed resolution, 2017-09 that we adopted with effective date. Should it match our roads of the road, which is November 1st?
I believe so. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Well, then I make a motion that we accept or adopt resolution 2017-069 with the effective date offered of November 1st, 2017.
Second. Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. I think that unanimous, that passes.
The next resolution is a resolution approving a contract for our Chief Judge, Tiffany Carter-Sellis, to serve as the Chief Judge for the Municipal Court of the City of South Fulton, setting compensation and for other purposes. That item is Resolution 2017-070.
I would like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion that we approve resolution 2017-070 approving contract to Tiffany Carter-Sellers.
A second. Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem.
I have a question specific to section 5 as well as section 10. For these particular fees, the professional dues and the civic club, is that up to a specific amount per approved budget? What are the limits, if there are any?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part of that
The
question.
limits on fees and stuff of that nature, is there a limit to it?
Not as said in the contract. Any expenditures would be pursuant to the the availability of funds in the budget, but the contract does not limit the expenditures for the fees, no.
So I have a follow-up question. So this, I guess this would be beyond what we allotted for that. Judge, do you know if there's a line item in the budget that speaks to these additional expenses?
I'm not certain that there are additional expenses. There's a line item in the budget for education. There's a line item in the budget for professional dues and things of that nature, but that allotment is for the entire office. And so the clerks, all of my clerks need training and certifications and things of that nature. And so the line item that's allotted is for everyone. It's not just for myself. And then we'll have additional judges that will also pull for money for their certifications out of that budget as well. So in other words, I'm not certain if there's a specific number. The number is as outlined in the budget, but it has to be shared amongst the entire court staff.
Still, you are correct.
What professional organizations might you join, and about how much would it cost?
There are only two that I am current, outside of the Georgia Bar, which I don't consider necessary. I mean, that's a requirement. ICJE, which is the Judicial Continuing Education course, that's also a requirement. And I think that is $300 and some change, $300 and something. But the only other two would be the Gate City Bar Association and the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys. Those are two organizations those are the only two that I can think of, kind of off the top of my head. But those dues amounts range from $100 to $200 annually.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. And what about the civil organization?
At this point, my civic organizations are things that I bear the cost for.
I see.
And so that's not anything that I am seeking to pull money out of the contract. I mean, our budget, I'll be candid, our budget is tight. So there is not a lot of money that's expendable, for these extra organizations.
So number 10, then you should just delete.
I understand that this contract goes for 4 years, so the contract term is longer than the budget term. And so that, I don't necessarily think that we should delete the section. This year, the budget is just what it is. In the future, should there be a civic organization that is germane to my role as chief judge, I'd like the opportunity to join that. Right now, we're just not in the financial position to do so.
Okay, so, but I guess
yeah. Okay, Mr. Baker, and then Councilwoman Willis.
Okay. Yes, I was going to recommend that we leave section 10 in the contract, because as the court generate revenue and we allocate it to our enterprise fund account, we probably can have a discussion on an annual basis whether or not we have the budget.
I agree.
Okay. Mr. Baker, did you want to say, or you want me to?
No, I was just gonna make a motion to accept resolution 2017-07.
Motion for this discussion.
Motion is discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Motion's already, motion, okay, so it's in discussion. All right, did you want to?
No, I just.
Okay. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
I would like to offer a further amendment to section 10, specific to what you, using your words, so hopefully I state this correct. I'm okay with leaving 10 in if it's germane to your judicial responsibility.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like to make a motion to move the previous question.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved, second to move the previous question. All in, is there any discussion? All in favor, aye? Okay. And I need a motion to, I need a motion.
I want to make a motion, there was a motion on the floor. Motion to move to a vote of the contract for our municipal judge. Resolution 2017-070, approving contract with Tiffany.
A specific date? Oh, no, I got you. Sorry.
Mr. Reid, you all already have that motion on the floor.
He moved it.
He moved to a previous question.
It was the previous question. I dealt with the question first.
So the main is already on that.
What we did is all right. So, did that include the amendment? Did you, is the first motion correct? That's correct.
Great. I'm not sure that I'm clear about the friendly amendment. She said that she had a friendly amendment with respect to section 10. But you said you were okay with the way that she explained it, but
No, I was saying, I was trying to make sure I captured her words, which was to say, as related to her judicial responsibilities.
okay, so add the words, okay.
Right.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think that's unanimous. Okay, Mr. Clerk, that passes.
All right, the next resolution is Roman numeral 3, a resolution authorizing the City of South Fulton Human Resources Department to conduct background checks on prospective employees, vendors, and volunteers, authorizing the Human Resources Director to serve as the agent for GCIC and other crime databases, authorizing the Human Resources Director to establish policies and procedures, providing training resources as necessary, and authorizing the mayor to sign all documents necessary to effectuate this resolution, and repealing inconsistent resolutions, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
Okay, HR.
Basically, this is a non-criminal justice ORI number sponsored through the GCIC and the GDI in order to allow us to do our own criminal background checks within the city. It also allows for the Community Development Services Department to issue liquor licenses based on the background checks as well. So this is something that the Community and Development Services has been waiting for so that they can begin to receive revenues with regard to liquor licenses, as well as us being able to do our own background checks for our employees in non-criminal justice acts.
I can see Councilwoman Willis.
So have we been hiring employees without doing background checks?
The employees that have come across at this point have been transitioned employees as well as those new employees. All new employees know that they will have a criminal background check immediately once this ORI is done. We haven't had the budgeted funds to contract outside until now. There was nothing established when I came on board. Again, the transition team did not establish background check rules or guidelines. I had to do this immediately once I came on board, and the ORI was the way for us to do that without a budget.
So to follow up, all employees who have not been transitioned but hired into the city as a new employee, are we going to go back and do background checks?
Absolutely. They've all signed waivers and agree and understand that they will have criminal background checks conducted as soon as we get that ORI number.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm in for Tillman next.
I make a motion that we accept resolution 2017-071 with effective date of today.
Yes, ma'am.
So, question, once they are,
You could say.
Second.
Thank you. She said.
discussion, so those employees that have not had a proper screening or a background check, they understand that if it comes back as.
Absolutely.
That they will not.
Absolutely. Every employee, including myself. There was not one conducted when the council hired me, so every employee, including myself, yes.
Yeah, I really.
Was there a sign, was there anything signed?
All employees signed an application, yes.
No. Did they sign a statement stating that they will take a background check?
All employees have signed the application that states they are subject to a background check, and their offer letter clearly states it. Every employee's offer letter states that they were
subject to?
Yes, ma'am.
No, that they will take one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Subject to is not will.
Okay, Ms. Gumbs? Excuse me, Ms. Gumbs?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me do this, counsel. You want to opine on this a little bit?
Yes, Mayor. So the process for applying for this OCI number through the GCIC requires an affirmative statement from the governing authority, which this resolution would be authorizing this process to begin. And to the extent that Human Resources has received these signed statements from employees, there's nothing that prevents HR from going back, running the background checks. To your point, many of these employees are transition employees who've been subject to these rules before. One of the last steps to begin this process for the City of Renaissance is for the City Council to adopt this resolution.
Go ahead, Ms. Gumbs.
So within your authority and understanding, do the employees know, I guess, what will cause them for any failure in their background check, what will cause them to be terminated? Is there in a playbook, is that in the playbook that they signed, or
Every employee has signed, every employee that I have hired with the assistance of my staff have signed an offer letter that states clearly they are subject to a criminal background check and screening, and that they are their employment is subject to be terminated should it not. So they have an offer letter that states that. So we've explained that to everyone that's come over. That's why we have the one-on-one meetings with everyone. That's why we contact and reach out to them. So the offer letters state that clearly.
And even for the new employees?
Excuse me?
Even for the new employees that were hired, not transitioning?
Even all the transition employees and all the new employees, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion. I would like to make a motion.
It's a motion on the floor.
Can we move to a previous question?
No. I'll call it for the vote.
Yeah.
All those in favor, raise your hand. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Mr. Kalu, next. Now, next item.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, continuing on page 3 under ordinances, the first item is for second reading. This is an ordinance granting to Atlanta Gas Light Company, paraphrase, for a franchise agreement. Right?
Good evening, council. To present this ordinance, it is up for a second reading. It can be acted upon tonight. As this is a second reading, I won't belabor the terms of the agreement. I believe the council has had an opportunity to review them at length. It is a 30-year term with prospective auto renewals. It is to be paid annually. The franchise fee fiscal year ending in September. There's an insurance and indemnity provisions. The one matter that I did want to touch on, because I know there was a question from the last council meeting, was with regard to the franchise fee itself and whether it was subject to a cap of any sort. The easiest answer is yes, but not in the way that you may initially think. There are other utilities that are subject to a statutory cap, such as With cable television, there's a federally mandated limit. There's a 5% cap for any franchise fee. The Atlanta Gas Light, the gas franchise fee is not subject to that kind of cap. However, it is an industry that is regulated by the Public Service Commission. The franchise fee that is paid is subject to the calculation that you see there in the agreement, where the franchise fee factor is set according to the rates involved in set at a rate case with the Public Service Commission, and that rate is factored into the actual base rate for services from AGL. So it is subject to regulation by the Public Service Commission. That's where we originally got this rate, is actually waiting for the rate that was set according to AGL's dealings with the PSC, but it is not subject to a strict 2% cap, 3% cap, the way others are. I hope that answers the question. I know I was not here at the last meeting, but that's what was passed on to me, and that's what I attempted to address.
Ms. Gilliard?
What about an additional rate that citizens would have to pay, such as they do with some of the others, like the electric?
That would not be applicable here because the franchise. Well, let me back up, because I think that there's really two parts to that question. One, will the citizens be required to pay to compensate for any franchise fee? In a broad sense, the answer is always yes. These are utility companies. They get their money from the people who are paying for the services. So in that sense, all the money will come from the consumers. That's the business model. The question is whether, I think what you're getting to is whether there is a separate line item on the bill that this is going to be an add-on as a new service, that now because you live in a city, this is something that you have to pay. The answer to that is no, because the franchise fee is included in the base rate of AGL as part of its services, period. It is included in all charges, and it is the funds generated from the franchise recovery fee in their base rate are used to pay franchise fees applicable to this city and any other city. So it is not a separate line item. It is included in the base charge. I will say, and I don't mean to make this more convoluted than it needs to be, but because most citizens are receiving a gas bill not from Atlanta Gas Light, but say one of the marketers, Scana or Gas South, it is at least conceivable to break down a bill into its pieces and say, for the amount that was charged by Atlanta Gas Light to use its pipes, this portion was dedicated as the franchise recovery fee pursuant to the PSC's agreement. That's conceivable. We looked into it whether there was any instance of that ever happening. The answer is no. We just didn't find a prohibition against it. It would be very odd, but we tried to cover all our bases just to be clear.
Let me just piggyback on what the councilwoman just said, because unless there's some difference between Greystone and this, because we were very disappointed in the fact that Greystone agreed to pay us franchise fees and then send letters out to our people, saying that because of the city, that we got to charge you additional fees, and that was kind of contentious for us for a while. So I think that's what Ms. Gilliard,
Yes.
what Ms. Gilliard is really addressing. We get these franchise fees, and if it's $4 million, and they're gonna address our constituents to pay that $4 million. That's what she's saying.
Completely understood, and we took that to heart in doing our research with this and in speaking with AGL about it to confirm that no, these franchise fees are part of the base rate, which is part of AGL's bills in all bills. It is not a separate pass-through item as it is.
But it's a part of the contract, that your contract states that?
that it is separated out. That would actually not be something that is controlled by the city because the franchise fee itself is subject to the rates established with the Public Service Commission. It is not a, well, let me.
I'm not talking about my side. I mean, we're in a franchise agreement with them. Okay, my question is there anything in the agreement that prohibits them from doing what you just said?
The only thing, the way to answer that would be that in section 4, there is a provision in there that says the company shall adjust the franchise fee factor only when the company changes its rates as a result of a rate case with the GPSC. It is only in that instance when something that would go against the entire established process of the GPSC and something incredibly new that was outside of the city's control would affect that. The reason it's not addressed directly in that, there is no pass-through or anything like that is because the franchise fee itself is not set the way the Greystone and the power companies is. It's set according to the rate that is agreed upon with regulated by PSC.
The rules change because it's a gas company, electric company, like you're saying?
Yes. It's regulated in a different way.
All right. Hold you to that today. All right. Anybody? Go ahead, Mr. Khalid.
So this, I just want to be clear, you're saying this is a 30-year agreement, so we will not be able to renegotiate this agreement for 30 years?
That is correct. This is a 30-year term.
Thank you.
I believe that is in, that is in section 2, that it is effective as of the creation of the city, the May 1st, 2017, and to continue for a term of 30 years, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion? Mayor Pro Tem.
Question, in section 13, do we need to name or identify the city as the party and include the address and the attention in that section?
Yes, ma'am. The formalities of naming the city and included in section 13 and elsewhere and having it signed can be amended. I believe the ordinance itself You're correct. The address of the city is not named, but that can easily be added into just with an amendment or as a scrivener's ad. Either way would be effective.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2017-028, amending section 13 to include the city's address sent to the attention of the city attorney.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Mr. Baker.
Yes, Brian, I just want to know, to clear up what Khalid just asked in section 10, that's unless those 90 days are given prior to?
The section 10 regarding the auto renewals?
Yes.
Yes, the auto renewals are subject to the 90-day notice of whether either party would want to terminate or adjust, yes.
That's good.
I'm clear, thanks.
Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye, raise your hand. That passes 6-1. On consent with Mr. Khalid. All right, Mr. Clerk.
The next item, Roman numeral 2, is also the second reading. This item is sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Rowell under Ordinance 2017-029, an ordinance to establish procedures to provide preference to City of South Fulton businesses in competitive sealed bidding for city services.
Ordinance 2017-029 speaks to feedback and we've gotten from residents regarding making sure local businesses have the opportunity to get preference in the contracting process if they seek to do business with the City of South Fulton / City of Renaissance till we get there. Specifically, there are two categories, one for local businesses who would in fact be able to get a 3% evaluation preference and an additional 5% evaluation if the business is locally owned, which means at least 51% of the business owners live in the City of South Fulton. This is the second read, so it is eligible for adoption. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2017-029.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That's unanimous and passes.
The next ordinance, also for second reading, an amendment to ordinance 2017-012, addressing the jurisdiction of the Code Enforcement Board. That's ordinance 2017-30.
I'd like to make a motion that this is the first reading, correct? Second, that we move to pass ordinance 2017-030, amendment to Code Enforcement.
Second.
The properly moved in second. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor raise your hand. That passed unanimously. Next topic, Mr. Clerk.
Next item for first reading under Roman numeral 4 is adoption of additional ethics ordinances. This is co-sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Rowell and Councilwoman Willis under ordinance 2017-031.
Councilwoman.
Okay. Adoption with additional ethics ordinance. This is going to be, I know, a lengthy discussion, but the purpose of this code of ethics is, first of all, to get us the Georgia Municipal Association designation that cities throughout the state of Georgia has received. I think we have about over 200 cities who have this current designation. Yes, we all are held to, and we all took an oath of office. And so we are held to a certain standard, but this was just give us a higher standard. And it addresses several matters. It also imposes sanctions if we violate the code of ethics. And so we have Pro Tem Rowell and myself have been working on this for a couple of months. We did take the guidance from the Georgia Municipal Association. They provided some guidance. And then we worked with our legal field who pulled together this ordinance. The basic language came from the Georgia Municipal Association. And we did incorporate some friendly amendments from some of our colleagues. And I know we have some more that some other colleagues would like to recommend. And at this time, if it's okay, Mayor, if Pro Tem Rowell has anything to add.
Absolutely.
I just want to echo what you said. This is to get us the designation as a city of ethics. I think in terms of it, there's been a lot of discussion in the public space about what this ethics ordinance needs to look like. We took some of that in consideration. Primarily what you see different is section E, the penalty section, which is different than what you see in the standard ordinance that was proposed, or the model legislation from the Georgia Municipal Association. And I don't have anything further unless our attorney would like to add to it.
One more thing. I would like to also mention that our South Fulton delegation does have proposed legislation in process to move forward with when the General Assembly starts to incorporate ethics in our charter, to change our charter to incorporate ethics. So we, Pro Tem Rowell and myself, we did go down to the Capitol. We did meet with them. We did consult with their legal counsel. We did take their recommendations into consideration as well. So we're moving forward with this to try to get this passed on a local level, because that's what most cities throughout the state of Georgia, that's what they're doing, so that our South Fulton delegation does not have to take this matter up during the General Assembly.
This is the first read. Any further discussion? Okay, next item.
The next item under Roman numeral 5, adoption of an ordinance to impose a surcharge on all fines imposed for violations of ordinances governing public parks and recreation facilities in the city of South Fulton. This item number for first reading is ordinance 2017-032.
Judge.
Yes, I believe that this somewhat addresses your concern, Councilwoman Jackson. It's my belief that if you dirty a park, and you get caught dirtying a park, you clean a park. That's just my belief. And so what this surcharge will do is any offense that is committed in a park, whether it's loitering, littering, whatever, there's a surcharge that goes back to the parks for them to rebuild the parks, whatever. There's going to be a separate fund created so that that surcharge can go to that fund to be used directly for that point.
And Councilwoman Jackson, to add to that, we all remember the incident that happened at Welcome on Park with the fight. Every one of them would have had a surcharge. Yeah, so, and that money would go back to Parks and Recreation.
And so,
yes, it's a, we have to define, it goes to their, yeah, they can do it.
yeah,
They
the
can do
parks can do with it what they want, whether it's whatever they deem Parks and Recreation deems appropriate. But that money is money that's not collected by the court, doesn't go into the general fund, doesn't go into the court's budget, but that money goes directly to the parks. So if you have an issue in the park, you need to make the park better.
All right. First read. Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on page 4 under Roman numeral 6 for first reading, an amendment to ordinance 2017-018, rules of the road. An ordinance to amend Title 8 of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to impose a surcharge on all fines imposed under Title 8 for specific purposes, police tech retention and removal. That's ordinance 2017-033.
Council, this is as the clerk stated, a first reading. It is largely similar to the ordinance, the proposed ordinance you just saw regarding the surcharges for violations in parks. However, this is designated only for violations of rules of the road, which we have already adopted, so it would be an amendment to an existing ordinance to add this in. and it provides for two separate surcharges. That is a $10 surcharge for any guilty plea of no lower conviction, $10 for use for technology services, and a separate $10 surcharge to be earmarked for use in recruitment and retainment of police officers.
Yeah, I guess I'm responsible for this one. I just feel that those who commit crime should help us pay the tax. Police retention, we talk about having police officers and paying them what we need to pay them. This is another source of income for us to deal with. Also, when you talk about equipment, the buying of vests, what do you call those things, iPads, when you're old, iPads and stuff like that that you need. It's, somebody else, these folks who commit these crimes and stuff, or violations rather, can also assist us in helping to pay the cost for some of that stuff. So I propose this legislation, and I think it's good. For me, I should have gone higher. I really should have gone higher. I went to $10. I got stuck. I started at 5. Then I went to 10. I should have gone to 50. But one thing about being a municipality, outside being a part of Fulton County, we could do this. All right. Where before we were prohibited from doing something like this. I think it's a good legislation, and when it comes back for the second read, I hope that we can pass it. Go ahead, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
I don't know when it started. In the 90s, there was this town that had a lot of working class African American folks, and they were short on cash. And so they started all of these fines and fees. It led in 2015 to the death of a young man named Mike Brown. Attorney General Eric Holder commissioned a scathing report for Ferguson Commission about municipalities who were short on cash making money off of young men who look like me, who make the kind of salaries that I make. So I'm a little uncomfortable with all of these different surcharge things going on, and I just, it's cool right now. We just doing 2, but I don't want to see that happen to us.
Okay. Next.
The next ordinance, Roman numeral 7, for first reading, adoption of ordinance relating to the regulation of sexually oriented businesses in the city of South Fulton boundaries, to provide for definitions, to provide for the licensing of sexually oriented businesses, to provide for maximum fees and penalties for violation of this chapter, to provide for appellate rights, to provide for severability, to provide an effective date to repeal all ordinances and permanent ordinances in conflict herewith and for other purposes. This item is ordinance 2017-034.
Mayor, last council work session, an attorney with our office, Kimberly Anderson, made a presentation to the council to discuss the negative secondary effects of these sexually oriented businesses. This ordinance was drafted by undertaking an extensive research of similar ordinances from around the country, as well as ordinances and case law from the state of Georgia. Under this ordinance, the new licensing requirements for the City of Renaissance would establish licenses for both businesses and employees that must be filed in person. If an applicant previously owned a sexually oriented business and declared a nuisance or subject to a court order for closure, that applicant would be barred from applying for such license for 5 years in the City of Renaissance. It grandfathers in existing sexually oriented businesses in terms of location requirement, but also applies the new requirements for the conduct that occurs within those businesses under this ordinance. Further, it would immediately grant the existing sexually oriented businesses within the city of Renaissance a license to maintain their operation. However, at the same time, it brings those businesses under the regulatory authority of the city in order to ensure compliance with the new regulations that would be adopted with this ordinance. Each license, the licensing fees are to be set by the city council, and each license shall be for a term of 1 year, subject to renewal. And with that, the city manager would have, or his or her designee would have the right to inspect any of these businesses at any time to ensure compliance with the requirements herein. Licenses can be suspended if a business is found not in compliance, and it can also be revoked where activities there rise to that level. For revocation or suspension of a license, there would be a hearing. This code section provides for the establishment of a hearing officer that can be designated by the city, who would be an attorney to serve as the administrative hearing officer in these revocations. And it also prohibits the transfer of sexually oriented businesses without the reapplication of a license with the city. In terms of prohibited conduct, there are distance requirements for semi-nude employees in relation to the patrons that visit these businesses. Full nudity is prohibited. It does not allow any consumption of alcohol on the premises of any of these businesses after January 2nd of 2018. Further, it limits the hours of operation, requiring these businesses to close by 12 midnight and prevents their operation between 12 midnight and 6 a.m. And with that, I will yield to any questions that the council may have on this.
Any questions? Hearing none.
Just need to reflect that this ordinance 2017-34 was proposed by myself as the sponsor.
How many businesses are currently operating in the city of South Fulton right now?
There is one business operating in the city of South Fulton currently. There are several others within the Fulton Industrial District.
Okay.
Only one, but you can bring more in if you want. On Fulton Industrial. Any further discussion? This is the first read on this item also. Hearing none, Mr. Brooks.
Roman numeral 8 for first reading as well. Amendments to ordinance number 2017-017 regarding municipal court. An ordinance to amend Title 7 of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to provide for a quarterly report from the municipal court and for other purposes. Ordinance 2017-035.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. This ordinance reflects my belief in transparency, that not only the mayor and council get a report of what's going on in the court in terms of our caseload, our fine and fees, things of that nature, but that report is also provided to the city manager, the chief of police, and also the head of code enforcement, so that all agencies know what's going on in the court and can make any decisions that they need to make based on that.
Any questions? Being first reading. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Clerk.
Roman numeral 9 for first reading, also regarding an amendment to municipal court, ordinance number 2017-017, an ordinance to amend Title 7 of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to provide for the payment of costs incurred by the city of South Fulton by the defendant upon conviction. Ordinance 2017-036.
This ordinance also falls in line with, I would venture to say, the vast majority of jurisdictions. Am I correct, counsel?
I would be hard pressed to name one that did not allow for this.
Thank you. And what it does is it allows our software fees, any sort of fees that are incurred as a result of your conviction, you bear that. You bear that cost. Whether that's incarceration, whether that is, just the regular software maintenance fee that is associated with your citation. All cities do this, all courts do this. If you want to file a document, for example, in Fulton State Court, you got to pay $7.23. If it's a motion, it's $8.23. Every single piece of paper that you file. And so this is just to mirror what other jurisdictions are doing, so that we're not bearing all of the costs associated with the administration of the court.
Any discussion?
What happens if people can't pay the fee?
Those fines can be commuted, again, that's my discretion, and those fines can be commuted to community service or things of that nature. It would be in addition to whatever their sentence is. And so whatever it is, it can be converted and we can deal with indigency as it arises.
So Judge, any fine, any ticket you may get for anything in community, you feel if a person does not have the funds to pay, right?
Absolutely.
Not just this, but I want Mr. Khalid to know that.
Yes, absolutely. So just so that you understand, you understand, Mr. Khalid, this is not just trying to pay for the court on the backs of working class people. That's not what it's designed to do. But ultimately, if you commit a crime, you need to bear the costs associated with that. All the taxpayers shouldn't have to bear the costs associated with your commission of crime. And so we need to have a method for people who are able to pay to take care of that. If they're not able to pay, then that's something, again, that's in my discretion and jurisdiction to be able to determine that on a case-by-case basis. But the blanket rule needs to be, you commit an offense in our jurisdiction, you're going to have to pay not only whatever the fine and fee is, but whatever the cost that we incur as a result of having to prosecute.
Okay. Any further discussion? Once again, this is first read. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Clerk?
Next item is a board appointment. Request approval of a nomination of Ms. Joyce Armster to replace Ms. Violet Willis Crawford on the Board of Code Enforcement. Not listed on the agenda is that this nomination is made by Councilmember Khalid for my apologies.
By Councilman Randolph?
Khalid.
Okay. Yeah, this was just supposed to be on a couple weeks ago. We just missed it in the email, so we're finally making it.
Ms. Armstrong still here? This is an action item. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Ms. Armstrong for this code enforcement board.
I second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. It passes. Mr. Clerk, next item.
The next item on the agenda is the city manager's weekly update. For which we have our CFO, Mr. Frank Malazzi, to provide a financial status update.
Did he leave?
We'll have the detailed update for our financials on the 28th.
On what?
28th, the next council meeting.
Okay. There's also an item concerning a bit of the changes in health, HR. Come up and discuss those items with them.
Absolutely. This is just a bit of information to communicate to council that we'll be communicating to our staff. Early on, we negotiated with all of our benefit providers to keep our cost level. That was something that took place with the transition team. They kept our cost level through the end of 2017. When I came on board, I negotiated further that they keep those costs level through 2018 with no benefit plan changes. All of our benefit providers accepted that plan except for Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield has come back with an increase in our costs, and on the presentation above, I'll go through some of those things. So there are no changes to Kaiser in terms of the plan offerings and the plan design. No plan to Blue Cross Blue Shield in the plan offering or the plan design. That means that all of the elements of the benefits will remain the same. All of our other benefits, including Aetna for dental, IMED for vision, Mass Mutual, all of those things will stay level. And we'll be opening up our voluntary benefits, but no changes to the voluntary benefits at this time either. If you go to the next slide. The changes occur with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield came back initially with an increase of 44%. The reason being, and I have to explain that, is that when you take a pool of 400 employees out of a group of thousands of employees, you minimize the economy of scale. And any experience that you have with that 400 group of people, which would be the current employees and the employees that will be transitioning over, including police and fire, because Blue Cross Blue Shield with Anthem has their experience in how much they've spent and what the predictions are for their spending in the future, they have said your cost for 2018 will be more than the premiums that you pay in. Therefore, they were recommending a 44% increase. I negotiated again with them. I sat down with their representative face to face and said, we cannot incur that cost. And they reduced it down to 22%. I want to show you that that is a good thing for us versus a bad thing. So let's go to the next slide. Overall healthcare costs have increased nationwide. You know that we have a first-term president right now who's making some changes to the ACA Act right now. And because of those changes with the ACA, most of the insurance providers are increasing their costs because they're losing money. Their expectation was that they would lose money. So overall, nationwide, we're seeing healthcare costs increase. Second thing is that Fulton County has already increased their costs for 2018 as well. So if our employees had stayed with Fulton County, they were going to incur an increase. It's almost equivalent to the increase that we're receiving. The upside to that is that Fulton County has made changes to their plan design. They've changed their co-insurance, they've changed their co-pays, they've changed the emergency room fees, some of those things. We're not changing any of those things. We negotiated so that we could keep those costs down for our employees as well as for the city. The cost share, again, as I explained before, 400 employees versus being in a pool of thousands of employees, we could not certainly absorb the premiums that we had absorbed in the past. This last screen shows you the costs that are level for all of our other benefits. Aetna, dental, DMO, and PPO, no changes. IMED, no changes. Kaiser, no changes. Blue Cross Blue Shield, you will see the changes. But when you look on the other side, which is, I want to take you to the far side, the 22% sounds high. But when you look at the actual cost to the employees, an employee with a family for Blue Cross Blue Shield point of service would receive an increase of $17 per pay period. For an employee with one other family member, a husband and a wife, or a mother and a child, would incur a $28 increase. And then you have the individual that would increase by $21. So again, work very, very hard to keep the cost as low as possible. If you go to the next slide, I'll show you some next steps. First of all, as soon as I received the news from Blue Cross Blue Shield that they were going to increase by nearly 44%, I negotiated with them down to the 22% level. Contacted GMA at that time as well, who is the Georgia Municipal Association, and asked them to begin to give us a quote. They are actually working on a quote for us now. Again, what that helps us to do is to get inside that pool, again, of the economy of scale with other municipalities so that we can absorb some of the cost in that pool of people. So I'm waiting on their quote back. If their quote comes back, we will do a cost-benefit analysis to see if it's better for the city and better for the employees to go into the GMA pool or to stay with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we can do a mid-year change if that proves to be more beneficial to us. Also, the plus on that is that if we stay with GMA, if we go to GMA rather, GMA also uses the Blue Cross Blue Shield network of providers, so our employees will not lose the doctors that they're currently working with. They'll be able to continue to see their doctors because they come from the same pool. Hopefully we'll get that quote back from GMA within the next week or two, and they're saying that they can estimate a February 1 start date for us. So that means that our employees may have to incur a higher cost for a period of about a month if GMA's costs come in better than what we have offered at this time.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I think we talked briefly about our experience as a city now in terms of individuals and their rising health costs.
Yes, I mean, we have, I can't tell you about individual employees because of course HIPAA laws prevent them from sharing that with me. I'm just saying I don't have that information at all. But what I can tell you is that we have employees who have incurred very, very high healthcare costs for major medical expenses. Those things, when I say major medical, it could be things like cancer, it could be things like surgeries, it can be things like childbirth, a number of things that could have cost the experience or the cost to increase over the cost of the premiums. And what insurance companies typically do is they balance the premium based off of the expected cost or the outlay that they'll have.
Sure.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Basically, Blue Cross Blue Shield, when she first came, and we saw them, I think it was in May or June, she came in with 21%. And then she came back, I don't know if you were here, now she came back and said she would stay with what Fulton County had. So what she actually did was just doubled and said 44% to come back down to what she wanted when she came in here in the beginning.
Again, every year, what I will tell you, and I've negotiated benefits.
No, I'm saying, it had nothing to do with you. I'm
Okay.
just saying what she did, because I questioned her, yes. Okay.
But let me kind of explain. I don't think that what they did was wrong per se, and I'll tell you why. What they have to do on an annual basis is look at their expenses as an insurance provider. So every year they do an analysis to see if there was a balance. And in fact, I think ACA also requires that if we don't spend as much as we put in, that there's a cost that comes back to the company or the owner of the policy. So what they've done is they've looked at the existing employee headcount, the 50+ employees that we currently have, and they also have the experience of those employees that will be transitioning over from parks, from police, and from fire. So they have the predictions for the next year. So ultimately, they knew that, you're right, they knew that in 2017, but every insurance company has the liberty every year to analyze their costs and make adjustments based on it.
I just wanted to add, it was just a real turbulent work session for that young lady that came in, because I remember it clearly.
Yes.
We held her feet to the fire. We talked about this 21%. I just find it ironic that after they go back with their evaluation and then you put your energy into a negotiation and you weren't here at that time, they still land where they told us.
They came 1% more.
Well, yeah, 22%.
Yes.
Are we offering a long term?
Oh, sorry.
Were you finished?
I'm finished.
All right.
Are we offering long-term and short-term disability to employees?
Those are voluntary benefits to employees. I will tell you that one of the quotes that I'm getting back from GMA is a quote on short-term and long-term disability that can be offered by the city at a low cost. My history with those premiums is that they are very, very, very inexpensive to carry and to provide to all employees at no cost to the employee. So I am investigating that with the GMA quote as well.
Any other discussion?
Okay. Actually, there's no action on this. This is just for information because there's not a whole lot we can change.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to allow council people to have their 2 minutes. Their 2 minutes done. All right, looking at you. Go right ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Baker.
Good evening. I want to thank everybody for coming out, especially looking out in the audience and seeing so many people from District 7. I really appreciate you, Will. Miss, I I don't want to call other names because if I leave other people out, I'll be out the bad. But thank you so much. Real quick update, thanks to the mayor for coming to our meeting regarding MARTA in our area, District 7. The takeaway from the meeting is that MARTA is not going to drive a bus down our subdivisions or any subdivision in District 7. We reached for that. That's what we wanted. That's what our desire was. And any other further communication regarding that will be brought to us, and we'll have another meeting in reference to that. I also like to thank everybody who attended the Future South Fulton Forum this weekend. It was a riveting discussion. I'd like to thank everybody that came out. The takeaway from that, actually, one of my students joined the panel after being at work all night by the name of Brandon. And Brandon is a guy who volunteers with us on Saturday. And he shared so much with the people. And he was at Banneker with another student that was there who's the same age, 25 years old, who attended Yale and is very successful now. Brandon spent 5 years in prison. And our next Future South Fulton Forum will be a meeting with the culmination of Brandon and Sam to help influence and tell parents actually out of the mouths of babes how they ended up going left, right, and straight. So please look forward to our Future South Fulton Forum in January. We're going to be doing it with principal at Banneker High School. Also, if you have any children that attend Renaissance Middle School, please encourage them to be a part of the ambassador program. I started an initiative at Renaissance Middle School with the Dean of Discipline, Mr. Stewart, where we're going to be building a city at Renaissance Middle School. So that ain't 2 minutes, y'all. And also, if you're coming to Next Level Boys Academy, please do me a favor and send me an email because I may not be back in time for the meeting on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, if you, District 5 or anyone else, if you would like to join me on Sunday, we're doing Proclamation at World Changers Church, just thanking them for being an anchor in our community and holding down Old National Highway. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you to all of the District 3 residents that came out, and thank you for being engaged. I appreciate your participation in the NAMA process. We have over 800 residents to respond to the survey that I put out. I am disappointed, like you all are, that Wolf Creek did not make it because that was the preferred choice for District 3. But it is the will of the council that our city is Renaissance, so that is something that we have to embrace. I want to let you know that our committees will be forthcoming, but I will not schedule any committee meetings until after the holidays, but I will send out a newsletter for you all to sign up for whatever committees you want to participate in. And these committees will be specific to District 3 for various municipal services. And basically this will allow residents to engage and talk about what you want with District 3. I want to remind all residents on safety tips. Please do not leave your car running while you are warming it up in the morning. Several cars have been stolen out of my neighborhood because people are leaving their cars unlocked while they're warming their cars up. And we're our first line of defense when it comes to public safety. So if you're going to leave your car unlocked while your car is warming up, I mean, what do you, I don't want to victim shame anybody, but you're basically giving your car away. So make sure that you lock your cars if you're going to warm your cars up. And if not, stay with your car if you're going to warm your car up. Thank you for coming and have a good evening.
Thanks to all the city residents who came out. Special thanks to the District 1 residents, and that's it.
I
guess I can take your minute.
Yeah, right.
So that gives me 3 minutes. No. But again, thank you all for coming out, and I want to especially thank District 2 residents for the wonderful emails, the kind phone calls, even the bad ones. But again, we are a city, the city of Renaissance. I hope you all will embrace it. We are what it will be. So I encourage everyone to continue to stay engaged, stay connected. This is our city. We made it 6 months. Now we got a lifetime to go. We got a name. So again, thank you all for participating in the survey. Again, November is the month of Thanksgiving. Do something wonderful for someone special in your life or an organization. I do commend all of you all to take advantage of that. And then I had something else, but he kept telling me about 9 o'clock. November, month of Thanksgiving, and then also to have a wonderful holiday and on Black Friday shopping. I hate to say it, but spend your money mostly in South Fulton, okay? Oh, the city of Renaissance, my apologies. Thank you again. Have a great day.
Thanks everyone for coming out. We can't imagine how good it makes us feel to sit up here and see so many people sitting out here. We know that we're not alone, so that's really a good feeling. District 4 has had some challenges in the past 2 weeks. 1,104,000 square foot warehouse being planned right in my district. But I really, really, really appreciate all of the District 4 people who jumped on it and the citizens in Union City. And we have formed a serious relationship, and it really, really feels good. It's been postponed, and it's not over till the fat lady sings. Because they're coming back, but it's okay. So I really, really, really appreciate everyone. And way in the background somewhere is the Development Committee and the Environmental Committee that's helping as well. And this is going to be a challenge throughout the city, I just want you to know. There are going to be times when you're going to hear various ones sitting up here saying almost the same thing. We have decided in District 4 that we're going to help Arlington Christian School. It's trying to rise above, some really tough times, so we're going to do whatever we can do to help in conjunction with the Education Committee that is planning a big fair on March 24th. You'll hear more about that. There's a new committee, a health committee, and that committee is focused on access to health and other kinds of issues. So it's just being developed. And during our retreat, when we were talking about our vision and all of that, Vet came to us, and we're going to develop a Veterans Committee as well. And these are this is the infrastructure that we're trying to build that we don't have very much of in District 4. So that's our possession. Thank you.
Good evening. Just 3 quick things, all happening this Saturday. Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Merrington is having his HOA booth. So for those of you all who got a little taste of that at our electoral college, you want to know more about how to form your HOAs, strengthen your HOAs, restructure your HOAs. This would be a good place to go. It's at the Georgia International Convention Center, Saturday all day. Saturday morning, on National at the Piano Bar, Marcus Colvin, Save Ourselves, will be showing a documentary. It's really powerful about the rise of gang culture and all of the things that precipitated that. So if you have a young person, I would definitely bring them out so they can learn the truth about its origins and its decline. And then lastly, we are collecting coats, the Old National Area Residents United. They are having their winter coat drive. That is also headed by Ms. Georgia Armister, who's my code enforcement nominee. So if you want to know who's doing code enforcement on National, come out Saturday from 6 to 8, bring a coat. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, it's going to be the Heritage Park Clubhouse. It's at Old National and Creole Road. The address is 2397 Creole Road, and we actually will be giving those coats out to children in South Fulton County Schools.
Okay, always been the last. I'm gonna leave you all with not so much of a statement, but a question. And the question is, what's in a name? What is in a name? I think the name that was chosen by this city is a good name. And you can read its definition. But if we, as you as a people, and we as a government, don't do what is necessary, then I ask you again, what's in the name? Y'all have a nice evening. Oh, what's that?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Who made a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Have the rules in second. Any discussion? Let's vote.
What's in the name?
Pass it.